Hello, it's Paul from Mode 7 here. Every time I talk about Frozen Synapse 2, people tell me they didn't realise that we were making it at all. If that's the case, please have a look at a little bit of this trailer. If you want, you can go and view the full trailer elsewhere on this channel. Frozen Synapse 2 takes the combat system from the original game and uses it to underpin a vast grand strategy game. With FS1 we focused on Laser Squad Nemesis as our basis, which looks like this, taking the core of its situational gameplay and refining it down to something a bit more specific. In FS2 we're taking our inspiration from another game, XCOM Apocalypse. This was a sort of quite strange game where you had this very free-form city, so we're trying to refine what was cool about having that weird persistent city map full of activity with rival factions vying for control, and again pare it down to something a bit more accessible. Apocalypse is really useful from a design standpoint because, as well as the freeform city, it also has a good blueprint for a core structure. Tasked with repelling the invasion, your number one priority is always to deal with incursions as they arise. In FS2 we've adopted a similar scheme. You're required to respond to the escalating severity of attacks on the city and its power structures. We're calling these events, as you might expect, incursions. From very early in the game's development, we knew we had to have some kind of strong progression for the player, alongside the more ambiguous machinations of grand strategy. You'll still play factions off against each other, make and break treaties, or make ambitious diplomatic plays, but you'll also have a definitive yardstick by which to measure your progress. There are two types of incursion, major and minor. Major incursions will take place on levels which are largely handcrafted with a specific enemy unit composition. This will allow us to do some narrative stuff as well as some scripted enemy behaviour. Minor incursions, on the other hand, can happen basically anywhere on the map in any type of building. They're defined in a few ways, the number and nature of enemy units, different types of spawn configuration and so on, but they're effectively entirely generated. They also scale up in difficulty as the game progresses. Ian Hardingham, our lead designer and programmer, made a nice little interface for testing the different levels of minor incursion, meaning I can just simply click on any building and trigger one right there when I'm testing. Here are some early results from the minor incursion generator. There are some nice things going on here. Ian's brilliant work to create generators which can adapt to any building shape is on display, plus we've got some sane unit compositions in relatively sane positions, all good. The text stuff there represents objects which will be found on those missions. By defeating incursions you'll receive relics, or art int shard in bewilder placeholder language as it is here. These have also been placed reasonably well. Occasionally a unit will carry them around as well, which is cool and mixes things up a bit. One problem we spotted with this was that the generator had become a bit obsessed with placing units sort of outside buildings. This was something to do with the system which was originally intended to make sure you started next to cover, but it was creating a few instances which just didn't really play well. Once that was fixed, things really went up a level. This now looks like a fairly classic FS level to me, and it's completely generated. Ian added a tweak which means units spawn facing in different directions, and instantly you have more realistic, tactically valid scenarios. There's lots of different minor variation we can do here, different types of spawn and positioning and so on, and loads more stuff to go in, but essentially that means you can go anywhere here and have a plausible tactical experience waiting for you. Before we had it kind of working, you could load up levels and some units would be there, but now it's really playable. This is a huge milestone for the game. It's not the kind of thing you can shout about with a normal trailer or send out a big press release, which is why I'm making this video. It's a stage which matters so much. FS2 is now properly playable by us to a meaningful extent, and we can start the major content push which will take us into beta. There's a lot of new stuff being worked on. Here you can see a really early test for one of the characters in the game. We've got a whole load of stuff with the factions, writing and so on, weapon effects to go in, and also we're working on some major incursion content right now. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea where we're at with the game. If you like this video, I'll be making more of them, so please do let me know, and also if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks.